How Trump and America's Patriots Mobilized to Save Scott Adams. The saga of Scott Adams' fight against metastatic prostate cancer unfolds like a high-stakes American drama where loyalty, patriotism, and the power of keeping your word converge in a race against death itself. This is a story about what happens when American patriots answer the call, when a president remembers a promise, and when the richest doctor in the world drops everything to help save a fellow American's life. Sunday, November 2nd, 2025. The Desperate Plea. In the dim light of dawn, Scott Adams sits hunched over his keyboard, his body racked with pain. At 68 years old, the legendary creator of Dilbert is dying. Metastatic prostate cancer has spread throughout his body, invading his bones, gnawing at his spine. The pain is constant, unrelenting. He relies on a walker now to move around his home. The man who once woke at 4 a.m. to draw cartoons before heading to his corporate job can barely stand. He has lost weight, his face is drawn. His eyes carry the hollow look of someone who knows with terrible certainty that time is running out. On May 19, 2025, Adams revealed during his podcast Real Coffee with Scott Adams that he had been diagnosed with metastatic prostate cancer that had spread to his bones, including his spine. He stated he expected his lifespan to be limited to maybe the summer of 2025. The pain was intolerable, constant, with no good days. His oncologists identified the treatment he needed, Pluvicto. It's a targeted radioligand therapy that received FDA approval in March of 2022 for metastatic castration-resistant prostate cancer. The drug works by targeting prostate-specific membrane antigen found on prostate cancer cells, delivering targeted radiation directly to tumors while minimizing damage to healthy tissue. Clinical trials showed Pluvicto reduces the risk of cancer progression or death by approximately 28% when combined with standard care. It's not a cure, but for patients with advanced disease like Adams, it can extend life and improve quality of life. Adams was precisely the type of patient Pluvicto was designed to help. His doctors approved the treatment. Kaiser Permanente of Northern California, his healthcare provider, signed off on it. Everything was in place. But then, nothing happened. Days passed. Then weeks. The critical intravenous infusion wasn't being scheduled. Every phone call led to another bureaucratic runaround. More paperwork, more delays, more waiting. Meanwhile, Adams could feel himself declining. The cancer was progressing. Every day without treatment allowed the disease to spread further, to cause more damage, to steal more time from a clock that was already running out. Kaiser had, as Adams put it, dropped the ball. A bureaucratic failure threatened to be fatal. For most Americans in this situation, there would be no recourse. You file complaints, you call patient advocates, you beg and plead, and maybe eventually something happens. Maybe. But by then, it might be too late. Adams had spent years analyzing Trump's persuasion techniques. He wrote the 2017 book Win Bigly, Persuasion in a World Where Facts Don't Matter, extensively analyzing Trump's communication mastery. But this support came at tremendous personal cost. Adams lost friendships, social relationships, career opportunities. He faced professional isolation, media criticism, and attacks. Supporting Trump in Hollywood, in media circles, in Silicon Valley, made you a pariah. But Adams stood by Trump through scandals, controversies, impeachments, and relentless attacks. He maintained his loyalty even when it was politically costly, even when it damaged his career, even when friends abandoned him. At some point during these years, Trump and Adams spoke. We don't know all the details of their conversations, but Adams revealed one crucial fact. Trump told him that if he ever needed help, Trump would be there. It was a promise. And on November 2nd, 2025, as Scott Adams felt death closing in, as his body failed him, as the bureaucracy of America's healthcare system threatened to let him die, Adams decided to call in that promise. He posted on X, formerly Twitter. On Monday, I will ask President Trump via X to help save my life. He offered to help if I needed it. I need it. Declining fast. Kaiser dropped the ball. Pluvicto is my shot. Schedule it or I'm gone. The post exploded across social media. Millions of people saw it. The world held its breath, waiting to see if the President of the United States would respond to a dying man's plea. They didn't have to wait long. On it. 2 words, but they carried the weight of a promise kept, of loyalty reciprocated, of a president who remembered a supporter in his darkest hour. 2 words that meant, I haven't forgotten you. I will not let you down. Help is coming. And the cavalry arrived. Within minutes of Trump's response, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Secretary of Health and Human Services, posted publicly asking how to contact Adams. The president wants to help, Kennedy wrote. RFK Jr., the health crusader who had spent decades fighting against bureaucratic obstacles in medicine, was now personally coordinating Adams' case. Dr. Mehmet Oz, administrator of the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, reportedly contacted Kaiser Permanente directly. Oz, the renowned cardiac surgeon who understood both medicine and media, brought his surgical precision to cutting through red tape. Dan Scavino Jr., White House Deputy Chief of Staff, confirmed publicly that Trump, Kennedy, and Oz were all tracking the situation. The highest levels of American government were now focused on one objective: saving Scott Adams' life. Donald Trump Jr., even while traveling in Africa on safari, reached out personally to ensure his father saw the post and to offer prayers. From the wilds of the savannah, thousands of miles away, Don Jr. was coordinating, making sure no detail fell through the cracks. And then another voice joined the chorus, a voice that brought something extraordinary to the table. Dr. Patrick Soon-Shiong, the richest doctor in the world. If you don't know that name, you should. Because when Dr. Patrick Soon-Shiong steps in to help a patient, he brings the full weight of pharmaceutical genius, billions of dollars, and a track record of performing medical miracles. Patrick Soon-Shiong is, quite possibly, the richest doctor in the world. Forbes estimates his net worth at $5.5 billion. Bloomberg says $12 billion. Either way, he's a self-made billionaire who earned his fortune by revolutionizing cancer treatment. He holds over 850 patents. He invented Abraxane, a reformulated chemotherapy drug that became a blockbuster with annual sales exceeding $1 billion. Born in 1952 in Port Elizabeth, South Africa, to Chinese immigrant parents, Soon-Shiong overcame apartheid's brutal racial hierarchy to become one of the world's leading cancer researchers. He graduated medical school at age 23, ranking 4th in his class. He trained under pioneers who performed South Africa's first kidney transplant and worked in the shadow of Christiaan Barnard, who performed the world's first human heart transplant. In 1977, Soon-Shiong and his wife Michelle immigrated to Canada, then moved to UCLA in 1983, where he became a faculty member and board-certified surgeon. While at UCLA, he invented Abraxane, binding chemotherapy to albumin to make it safer and more effective. The FDA approved it in 2005, and it became the first protein nanoparticle chemotherapy drug, eventually generating over $1 billion in annual sales. But Soon-Shiong didn't stop there. He founded Immunity Bio, a company focused on next-generation immunotherapy. And just 6 months before Scott Adams' diagnosis, on April 22, 2024, Soon-Shiong achieved something extraordinary. The FDA approved Anktiva, his company's first-in-class experimental drug, a superagonist that activates the immune system in ways previous cancer drugs couldn't. Anktiva represents what Soon-Shiong calls the triangle offense of immune response, borrowing basketball terminology. The drug mimics the natural biology of dendritic cells, binding to receptors on natural killer cells, CD4 helper T cells, and CD8 memory T cells, activating all 3 simultaneously. The pivotal trial demonstrated a 62% complete response rate, meaning no measurable tumors in 62% of patients. The duration of response exceeded 47 months in some patients, with results still ongoing. This substantially exceeded existing treatments like Merck's Keytruda, which showed a 41% complete response rate with 16.2-month median duration. This was cutting-edge science, the frontier of cancer treatment, approved just months earlier. And Dr. Patrick Soon-Shiong, billionaire surgeon-scientist with 850 patents, owner of a 4.5% stake in the Los Angeles Lakers, owner of the Los Angeles Times, which he purchased for $500 million, saw Scott Adams' plea. And he answered. Soon-Shiong replied directly to Adams' post on X. Scott Adams, Scott, we can help. See my Tucker Carlson podcast. Our Chan Soon-Shiong Institute has treated Kaiser patients with Antiva, boosting natural killer cells and T cells for prostate cancer. Contact us now. The offer was extraordinary. Not just access to conventional treatment, but access to experimental immunotherapy from one of the world's leading cancer researchers. A combination approach, Pluvicto to target the cancer cells directly, and Antiva to supercharge Adams' immune system, activating his body's own defenses to fight the disease. One user, Mary up in Maine, shouted in the comments, "Walk through this door, Scott, quickly!" The opportunity was unprecedented. A dying Maine with limited options suddenly had the richest doctor in the world, the inventor of next-generation cancer immunotherapy, personally offering to treat him. The cavalry had assembled. President Trump, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Dr. Mehmet Oz, Dan Scavino, Donald Trump Jr., Dr. Patrick Soon-Shiong, an unprecedented coalition of American power, medical genius, and loyalty. Monday, November 3rd, 2025. The breakthrough. That afternoon, the pressure cooker exploded into action. Kaiser Permanente, facing direct contact from the administrator of CMS, public scrutiny from millions on social media, and the full weight of presidential intervention, suddenly found a way to schedule the treatment that had been languishing for weeks. Scott Adams posted a shaky update. Appointment secured for Tuesday, November 4th. Thanks to Trump and his team. This might save me. The tension broke. The X community erupted. Users trended the hashtag #ScottAdamsSaved. Prayers flooded in. Benny Johnson posted, "Miracle in motion." The elite squad's coordination was a symphony of American patriotism, of loyalty, of keeping promises when it matters most. Tuesday, November 4th, 2025. The reckoning. The clock strikes 7:48 in the morning. Scott Adams, frail but resolute, prepares for his Pluvicto infusion. The treatment that could extend his life, that could give him more time, that could reduce the unbearable pain that has dominated his existence for months. As the IV line is inserted, as the radioactive therapy begins flowing into his bloodstream, seeking out the cancer cells that have invaded his bones, Adams knows that an entire network of American patriots is standing with him. President Trump, who kept his word, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who fights bureaucracy as a calling, Dr. Mehmet Oz, who uses his platform to help Americans access care, Donald Trump Jr. coordinating from Africa, Dr. Patrick Soon-Shiong offering the cutting edge of medical science, and millions of Americans who watched this drama unfold, who witnessed what happens when loyalty is reciprocated, when promises are kept, when patriots answer the call. What makes America exceptional? This is what makes America exceptional. Not our system, which failed Scott Adams, not our bureaucracy, which nearly let him die, but our people. When an American in crisis reaches out, when a man facing death asks for help, when someone who gave everything in support of his beliefs finds himself abandoned by institutions, other Americans step up. President Trump's response wasn't a press release or a task force or a committee to study the issue. It was 2 words, on it. A promise kept. A man remembered. Action over words. Dr. Soon-Shiong's response wasn't a referral or a consultation fee negotiation. It was immediate, personal involvement from a billionaire who could be doing anything else but chose to help save a fellow American's life. This isn't about politics. This is about something deeper, something that transcends policy debates and election cycles. This is about loyalty, about honor, about what happens when Americans take care of their own. Scott Adams has spent decades making Americans laugh, helping us find humor in the absurdity of corporate life, giving voice to millions of workers trapped in bureaucratic systems. And now, facing death, he learned that loyalty isn't a one-way street. The elite team, Don Jr. monitoring from Africa, RFK Jr. decoding health policy, Oz fine-tuning the plan, and Trump wielding executive authority, stands vigilant. Sun Xiang's Onctiva offer lingers as a backup ace, a next-generation weapon against cancer that could give Adams not just weeks or months, but potentially years. The infusion continues. The radiation seeks out cancer cells. The treatment that bureaucracy nearly prevented is finally happening. Will Pluvicto halt the cancer's advance? Will Adams embrace Onctiva's immune system boost? Will the combination of cutting-edge therapies give him time to continue creating, to continue fighting, to continue living? The world waits, holding its breath. But one thing is certain. When Scott Adams made his desperate plea, when he reached out to President Trump and said, "I need help," Trump responded exactly as he promised he would. On it. 2 words that meant everything. 2 words that mobilized the most powerful people in American medicine and government. 2 words that demonstrated what happens when an American president remembers his supporters, when the richest doctor in the world offers his expertise, when patriots answered the call. This is the story of Scott Adams' fight for life. But it's also the story of American loyalty, of promises kept, of power used not for politics, but for saving a life. The battle isn't over. Adams faces a long road, uncertain outcomes, and the disease that doesn't surrender easily. But he doesn't face it alone. He faces it with an army of patriots who proved, when it mattered most, that in America, we take care of our own. President Trump kept his word. Dr. Sun Xiang offered his genius. And Scott Adams got his chance to fight. On it. That's the story. That's what American loyalty looks like. That's what happens when patriots spring into action to save a beloved fellow American. The fight is on. Stay tuned.